I was standing in my garage, carefully loading fishing gear into the back of my truck, when my phone buzzed in my pocket. The early morning sun was just starting to peek through the trees, and I could already feel the anticipation building. After months of planning, my son Devon and I were finally heading up to the cottage in Muskoka for our annual father-son fishing trip. It was a tradition we'd kept alive for over 20 years, ever since he was 8 years old. I pulled out my phone, expecting to see Devon's usual "on my way, Dad" message. Instead, what I saw made my chest tighten. "Dad, I need to talk to you about this weekend. Can you call me?" Something about the formality of it felt wrong. Devon never asked me to call him. He just called. I hit his number immediately, my tackle box still in my other hand. "Hey, Dad." His voice sounded strained, uncomfortable. "What's going on, son? Everything okay?" There was a pause. A long one. The kind that makes your stomach drop. "Listen, about this weekend. I know we've had this trip planned forever, but something's come up." I set down the tackle box. "What kind of something?" "Well, Madison's parents are flying in from Vancouver. They want to spend time at the cottage, family bonding before the wedding. And Madison thinks it would be better if it was just, immediate family." I stood there in my garage, phone pressed to my ear, trying to process what I was hearing. "I'm sorry. What?" "Devon, I'm your father. What am I if not immediate family?" "I know, Dad, I know. It's just that our parents specifically want it to be the two families getting to know each other. You understand, right? We can reschedule our fishing trip. The cottage that I own? The cottage I've been paying property taxes on for 35 years? The cottage where I taught you how to fish? Dad, don't make this difficult. Madison's already stressed about the wedding, and her parents are really particular about these things. Her dad's a big deal at his investment firm, and we want to make a good impression." I walked over to my workbench and sat down heavily on the stool. Behind me, my fishing rod collection hung on the wall, each one holding memories of trips with Devon. The first rod I'd bought him, the one he'd caught his biggest pike with, the custom rod I'd saved up for to give him on his 18th birthday. "So let me get this straight. I'm uninvited from my own cottage so your future in-laws can have family time?" "It's not like that, Dad. We'll plan another trip, I promise. Maybe in the fall?" "We've had this trip booked for 6 months, Devon. I turned down the seniors' golf tournament for this. I've been looking forward to it for months." "I know, and I'm sorry. But you have to understand, Madison's family is different. They have expectations. Her dad's probably going to help us with the down payment on a house, and we need to keep things smooth." After I hung up, I just sat there in my garage, staring at those fishing rods. The morning light was streaming through the window now, illuminating all the gear I'd spent the week preparing. I'd even bought Devon's favorite beer, the craft IPA he'd mentioned last month. It was sitting in my fridge, waiting. I'm not a dramatic man. I spent 40 years as a civil engineer, solving problems with logic and precision. But right then, sitting in that garage, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Not since Devon's mother passed away 12 years ago and I'd had to figure out how to be both parents to a grieving 16-year-old. I felt completely dismissed. The cottage wasn't just a building. I'd bought it in 1988, right after Devon was born, specifically so I could create memories with my son. Every summer, every long weekend, every March break, that cottage held every important conversation we'd ever had. I'd taught him to swim off that dock. We'd built the new deck together when he was 15. We'd scattered his mother's ashes in the lake behind it. And now I was being told it was for immediate family only. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. One thing about being a meticulous engineer is that I keep detailed records of everything. It took me about 5 minutes to find what I was looking for. Over the past 18 months, since Devon had gotten engaged to Madison, I'd noticed some unusual charges on my credit card. Small at first. $200 here for engagement party supplies, $500 there for wedding planning consultations. Then they got bigger. $3,000 for Madison's bridal shower at some fancy hotel in Toronto. $8,000 for the wedding photographer deposit. Devon had asked to borrow my credit card just for wedding emergencies about a year ago. His own credit wasn't great, he'd explained, and Madison's parents had said they'd reimburse everything, but their money was tied up in investments. Could I help them out temporarily? I'd said yes, because he was my son, because I wanted to support his new life. Because fathers do these things. I scrolled through the statements. The charges kept coming. Florist deposit, $4,500. Venue deposit, $15,000. Catering deposit, $12,000. Cake, $2,800. String quartet, $3,200. Wedding dress alterations, $1,900. My thumb hovered over the calculator app. I didn't want to know, but I needed to know. The total came to $127,340. $127,340. Not a single payment had been reimbursed. Not one. Every time I gently asked Devon about it, he'd assured me that Madison's father was handling it, and the money would be transferred any day now. That had been 14 months ago for the first charges. I sat there looking at that number on my phone screen, the same phone that had just delivered my uninvitation to my own cottage. Something cold settled in my chest. Not anger, exactly. More like clarity. I called my bank. Susan, my account manager for the past 20 years, answered on the third ring. Gordon, how are you? What can I do for you today? Susan, I need to report my credit card stolen. There was a pause. Oh no. When did this happen? Have there been fraudulent charges? Have there been... I'm looking at them right now. About $127,000 worth over the past 18 months. I could hear her typing. Gordon, these charges all appear to have been approved with your PIN and signature. Are you saying someone had access to your card? Yes. And I'm revoking that access right now. I need the card canceled immediately and a new one issued. And Susan, I need to dispute every single wedding-related charge from the past 18 months. More typing. That's a lot of disputes, Gordon. The credit card company is going to need documentation that these were unauthorized. They were authorized under false pretenses. I was told I'd be reimbursed. I have text messages to prove it. No reimbursement ever came. That's fraud, isn't it? Well, technically, if you can prove that there was an agreement to repay and it was breached, then yes, you might have grounds. But Gordon, are you sure about this? These appear to be charges made by your son. I'm absolutely sure. After I hung up with Susan, I made my second call. To Richard Chen, the real estate lawyer who'd handled my property transfers for years. Richard, I need to put my cottage on the market. Today. The Muskoka property? Gordon, that's been in your family for over 30 years. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything. What's it worth now? In the current market, waterfront property in Muskoka, you're probably looking at $1.8 to $2.2 million, depending on the appraisal. But, Gordon, this seems sudden. Is everything all right? Everything's about to be. I need you to draft up the paperwork. And Richard, I need the locks changed today. Can you recommend someone? I can have my guy out there by 3 o'clock. But Gordon, if your son has keys, he won't need them anymore. My third call was to Janet Morrison, my late wife's best friend, and the closest thing Devon had to a mother figure after Christine passed. If anyone could tell me whether I was losing my mind, it was Janet. Gordy, I was just thinking about you. How are the trip preparations going? Janet, I need you to tell me if I'm crazy. I laid out everything. The uninvitation, the credit card charges, the 18 months of promises, the immediate family only, comment about my own cottage. Janet was quiet for a long moment. Then I heard her take a deep breath. Gordon, I'm going to tell you something I should have told you months ago. Last Christmas, at Madison's parents' house, I overheard Madison talking to her mother. She said, and I quote, "Once we're married, we can just put Gordy in one of those nice retirement communities. The cottage will make a perfect wedding gift to ourselves, and Dad won't need that big house anymore either." My hand tightened on the phone. She said that? At Christmas? I didn't tell you because I thought maybe I'd misheard or taken it out of context. But Gordy, that girl has been planning this for a while. And Devon, God love him. He's so smitten he can't see what's happening. I'm selling the cottage. Today. Good. And Gordon? Christine would be proud of you for standing up for yourself. You've given that boy everything, including 18 months of wedding funding. If he can't see what he's throwing away, that's on him. After I hung up with Janet, I sat in my garage for a long time. The fishing gear was still loaded in my truck. The morning was still beautiful, and I was still alone. But I wasn't powerless. I pulled out my laptop and started composing an email. To Devon, Madison, and both sets of Madison's parents, CC'd to Richard Chen and my accountant. The subject line was simple: regarding recent developments. I wrote it carefully, without emotion, the way I'd write an engineering report. Just facts. Fact 1. All credit card charges totaling $127,340 had been disputed and flagged as fraudulent. Fact 2. The cottage property had been listed for sale, effective immediately, with a locksmith scheduled to change all locks by end of business day. Fact 3. Any personal belongings left at the cottage would be moved to a storage unit, rental fees to be paid by the owner of said belongings. Fact 4. I would be spending the weekend at a fishing lodge in northern Ontario, as originally planned, just with different company. My seniors fishing club had an opening. Fact 5. All future financial discussions should be directed to my lawyer. I read it over 3 times. Then I hit send. My phone started ringing 4 minutes later. Devon's name flashed on the screen. I let it ring. It rang again. And again. Then Madison called. Then a number I didn't recognize, probably her parents. I was loading the last of my gear into the truck when my phone buzzed with a text. Devon. Dad, please call me. This is insane. You can't just sell the cottage. We had plans. I typed back slowly, carefully. Plans change. You taught me that this morning. Enjoy your family weekend. I hope Madison's parents' company is worth $127,340 in a cottage. The response came immediately. Devon, what are you talking about? What $127,000? Me. Check your credit card statements. The ones on my card. The ones I was told would be reimbursed any day now. That was 18 months ago. Devon, that's for our wedding. You said you wanted to help. Me. I said I'd help. Not that I'd fund the entire thing while being uninvited from my own cottage because I'm not immediate family. I'm done helping people who don't want me around. Devon. Dad, you're being ridiculous. We can talk about this. Me. We could have talked about it this weekend, while fishing, at the cottage. But apparently, I'm not immediate family enough for that conversation. I turned my phone to silent and put it in the glove compartment. The drive to northern Ontario took about 5 hours. I stopped once for coffee and a sandwich, and I didn't check my phone. The fishing lodge was rustic, simple, and exactly what I needed. 3 other guys from my seniors club were already there, sitting on the dock with their lines in the water. Gordon, we saved you a spot. Bill waved me over. Thought you were doing the father-son thing? Change of plans, I said, setting down my gear. Figured I'd rather catch fish than excuses. Bill laughed. But Tom, who'd known me for 30 years, gave me a long look. Everything okay? It will be. We fished until sunset. Caught a decent pike and a couple of lake trout. Grilled them for dinner. Sat around the fire and told the same stories we'd been telling for years. Nobody asked about Devon. Nobody asked about the cottage. They just let me be. I finally checked my phone around 10 that night. 73 missed calls, 46 text messages, 3 voicemails. I listened to the first voicemail. Dad, it's me. Please, we need to talk. Madison's parents are furious. They're saying we have to cancel the wedding venue because the deposits are being disputed. Dad, the wedding is in 6 weeks. You can't do this. Please call me back. The second voicemail was Madison. Gordon, this is completely unreasonable. Those were gifts. You can't just take back gifts. My father's lawyer says you're going to ruin our credit. How could you do this to us? Devon is devastated. The third was from a number I didn't recognize. A smooth, corporate voice. Mr. Patterson, this is Donald Harper, Madison's father. I think there's been a significant misunderstanding here. I'd like to propose we meet in person to discuss this situation like rational adults. I'm sure we can come to an arrangement that benefits everyone. Call me at your earliest convenience. I deleted all 3 voicemails. Then I opened the text thread with Devon. The messages painted a clear picture of escalating panic. Dad, please. The credit card company is demanding immediate payment. We're going to lose the venue. Madison is crying. Her parents are threatening to withdraw from the wedding. Dad, I'm begging you. Fine. Fine. We'll uninvite her parents instead. You can come to the cottage. Just please fix this. That last message had come in 20 minutes ago. I stared at it for a long time. The fire was crackling behind me. Bill was telling a story about the pike that got away in '94. Someone laughed. I typed one message back. The cottage sold this afternoon. Closing in 30 days. Cash buyer, no conditions. I accepted an offer of $2.1 million. I suggest you find a new venue for your family bonding. I'll be fishing. I hit send and turned off my phone. The next morning, I woke to the sound of loons on the lake. No phone calls, no desperate texts, just birds and water and peace. We spent 3 days fishing. I caught a muskie that Bill said was the biggest he'd seen in 15 years. We took a photo, released it back into the water, and watched it swim away. That's the thing about fishing, Tom said, watching the fish disappear into the deep. Sometimes you catch something, and sometimes you have to let it go. The trick is knowing which is which. I nodded. I knew exactly what he meant. When I finally turned my phone back on during the drive home, there were over 200 notifications. I didn't read them. I just called Richard Chen. Gordon, glad you called. The cottage closing went through smoothly. Buyers are thrilled. They're a young family with 3 kids, very excited about making memories there. Good, that's what it's for. There's been some activity regarding the property. Your son showed up with a moving truck yesterday. Had to explain to him that he no longer had access. He wasn't pleased. I imagine not. He asked me to tell you that he's willing to meet, to talk. His exact words were, "Tell my father I understand now." I thought about that for a minute. What else did he say? He said Madison's parents withdrew their support when they realized there wouldn't be any cottage to eventually inherit. Apparently, that was a significant part of their enthusiasm for the match. He said the wedding is postponed indefinitely. He's moving back to his apartment downtown. And Madison? He didn't mention her. I pulled over at a rest stop and sat there for a moment, looking out at the highway. Cars rushing past, everyone heading somewhere. Everyone with their own stories, their own complications. Richard, I need you to do something for me. Of course, set up a meeting with Devon. Somewhere neutral. A coffee shop or something. Are you sure? I'm sure. But Richard, I need you to prepare some documents first. We met at a Tim Hortons halfway between his apartment and my house. Neutral ground. He was already there when I arrived, sitting in a corner booth, looking like he hadn't slept in days. Dad. He stood up when he saw me. For a moment, he looked like he might try to hug me, but something in my expression stopped him. We sat down. I had a folder with me. Devon stared at it like it might explode. I've spent the last week doing a lot of thinking, I said, about what kind of father I want to be, about what kind of son I raised. Dad, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't know what I was thinking. Madison, she just kept saying that her parents expected things a certain way, and I got caught up in trying to impress them, and I lost sight of. I held up my hand. Let me finish. He closed his mouth. Your mother and I bought that cottage the week you were born. Did you know that? He shook his head. We were broke. Fresh out of university, student loans, living in a 1-bedroom apartment. But your mother insisted. She said, our son needs a place where he can learn what matters. We ate Kraft dinner for a year to make those mortgage payments. Devon's eyes were red. I didn't know. Every memory you have of that place, we built intentionally. The fishing trips, the dock we constructed, the fires on the beach. Your mother wanted you to understand family. Real family. The kind that shows up. The kind that doesn't get uninvited. I know. I screwed up. I pushed the folder across the table. Open it. Inside were several documents. Devon flipped through them slowly. His hands started shaking. Dad, this is a receipt for $127,340. Paid in full to your account. How did you? I sold the cottage for $2.1 million. Paid off the disputed charges. This receipt clears your debt. You don't owe me anything. He looked up at me, tears streaming down his face. Why would you do this? After everything I did, because you're my son. Because your mother would have wanted me to. Because family doesn't keep score. But you sold the cottage. All our memories. I tapped the next document in the folder. That's a property deed. For a small cabin about 40 minutes north of here. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, needs some work. Nothing fancy, but it has a dock and good fishing. Devon stared at it. I don't understand. It's mine. I bought it with part of the cottage money. And this, I pulled out another paper, is a proposed schedule. First weekend of every month, you and me, we go fishing. No phones, no distractions. Just us, like it used to be. Dad, I don't deserve this. No, you don't. But that's not how love works, is it? You don't earn it. You don't deserve it. It just is. He was full on crying now. What about Madison? What about her? She left. When her parents pulled out, when she realized the cottage was gone, she just left. Said I wasn't the man she thought I was marrying. Then she did you a favor. I wasted your money. I wasted a year and a half. I chose her over you. I reached across the table and put my hand on his. And now you're choosing differently. That's called growth. That's called learning. Your mother would say this was an expensive lesson, but an important one. I'm so sorry, Dad. I know you are. And Devon, I forgive you. But things are different now. I tapped the fishing schedule. This is non-negotiable. You commit to this, or we're done. I need to know that I matter, that our relationship matters. Yes. Absolutely yes. First weekend of every month. I promise. We sat there for a while, both of us drinking terrible Tim Hortons coffee, not saying much. Sometimes silence says more than words. Finally, Devon spoke. The cottage sold to a family? 3 kids. Their first waterfront property. The dad told Richard they're going to teach their kids to fish. Devon smiled through his tears. Mom would like that. She would. Dad, can I ask you something? Anything. That week when I uninvited you, when you were supposed to come to the cottage, what did you do instead? You said you went fishing with your club. I smiled, remembering. I caught a muskie. Bill said it was the biggest he'd seen in 15 years. We took a picture and let it go. You let it go? That must have been a trophy fish. It was. But sometimes the point isn't the keeping. It's the catching. The moment. The memory. Then you let it go back to where it belongs. Devon looked at me for a long moment. You're not just talking about the fish, are you? No, son, I'm not. We finished our coffee. Made plans to go up to the new cabin the following weekend to assess what renovations it needed. Devon said he wanted to help rebuild the dock, if there was one. There's a dock, I told him. Needs some work, though. Good. We'll fix it together. As I drove home that afternoon, the sun setting behind me, I thought about everything that had happened. The betrayal, the anger, the decisive action, the resolution. I thought about Christine and what she'd say if she were here. Probably something about how I'd always had a flair for the dramatic, even if I pretended to be the logical engineer. She'd probably laugh at the whole thing, then hug Devon and tell him he was an idiot. But her idiot. The cottage was gone. $127,340 was paid. A new cabin waited. And my son, my complicated, flawed, learning son, was coming fishing next weekend. Sometimes you have to burn everything down to build something real. Sometimes you have to let the big fish go. And sometimes, family only means something when everyone understands what it actually costs. I pulled into my driveway as the last light faded from the sky. My fishing gear was still in the truck from the weekend. I'd unpack it tomorrow. Tonight, I just wanted to sit in my living room, look at the photos of Christine and Devon from better times, and feel at peace with my choices. For the first time in 18 months, I was exactly where I was meant to be.